Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. Today you will be inspired and motivated, uplifted and edified through the Word of God. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the Brother Henry and You Show. I am your host, Henry Harris. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Really have a great subject today. Today we're going to talk about confrontation. Confrontation. You know, I believe that in life, we all, no matter who you are, we're going to deal with some form of confrontation. Confrontation will present itself, but to be honest, that's not really important. It's how you respond to confrontation. You know, confrontation can come in two ways. Either it's something that you are confronted with, or maybe it's something that you have to confront. And quite often I think about the word confrontation. You know, as we get the show started today, I think about the word confrontation. And many people think about it as in terms of being argumentative, fighting, debating. You're not incorrect, but I believe it could mean other things to many people. So maybe you are watching today, you may have a different meaning than how I may see it, and that's okay. But however it ministers to you, I hope that you will take something away from today's message. We should apply wisdom when it comes to confronting things, or when it comes to when you are confronted with things. I believe that anytime confrontation comes, wisdom needs to be applied. I think many people, by large, have mistaken confrontation, and I just said this, as fighting, but I believe it's quite bigger than that, and I want to talk to you about that today. What I will share today will be pretty basic, very simple, and I hope that it will comfort you in some way. I hope it would encourage you to confront things in the right way. There is something you need to know about confrontation, and that's these two things you need to know about confrontation. Confrontation either has a positive effect or a negative effect. You can't beat around the bush. If you are confronting something, you're going to get two results. It's either going to be positive or negative, good or bad. So going in, you need to know that whenever you confront something, these are the results that you are most likely to get. So anytime you confront something, it could be good or bad. We must also realize there are many things that are not worth confronting. Yeah, it may be in your mind, and you may say, well, I'm going to confront this head on. Maybe you need to consider, is it worth confronting? Should I do it? Or should I wait? That's where you need to apply wisdom. Sometimes confrontation can create a spirit of offense. And quite often I see this a lot. Sometimes confrontation can do that. That's if the confrontation is not properly addressed. We should use wisdom and pray for guidance when confronted in any situation. You should always consult the Lord for wisdom, guidance. Anytime you're confronted with any type of problem, any type of situation in your life, it shows our complete dependency on the Holy Spirit. It shows our complete dependency on God. That no, I will not confront this situation right now. However, I will go talk to God about it. Maybe this is not the right time. And we'll talk about that later in this episode. Never confront anything. I can't stress this enough. Never confront anything without considering wisdom. Now let us read 2 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 10 through 12. Give me wisdom and knowledge that I may lead this people. For who is able to govern this great people of yours? God said to Solomon, since this is your heart's desire, and you have not asked for wealth, possessions of honor, nor for the death of your enemies, and since you have not asked for a long life, but for what? Wisdom and knowledge to govern my people over whom I have made you kings. Therefore, wisdom and knowledge will be given to you, and I will also give you wealth, possessions, honor, such as no king who was before you ever had, none after you will have. Wow, that's powerful. God says to Solomon, because you didn't ask for these things, I'm going to give you wisdom and knowledge to govern my people. I'm going to give you the tools to equip you to do what I've called you to do. Now, Solomon had everything that he ever wanted. It's been said that he was the wisest man that's ever lived. He was the richest man who has ever lived. And even in that, knowing that he's had these things, he went to God and he says, God asked him, well, first of all, God asked him, he says, well, what do you want? He could have asked for honor. He could have asked to have his enemies destroyed. And as you see in these passages of scriptures, he did not do that. What did he do? He went and he prayed, God, just give me the wisdom. Give me the knowledge to be able to govern your people. Do you think today that we should pray that same prayer? Give me the knowledge. Give me the wisdom. How do I deal with this situation? What should I say? When should I say it? Here are a couple of things you need to take note of. Solomon had riches, fame, but he didn't request these things in his prayer. Number two, Solomon requested wisdom, which gave him access to the things that God blessed him with. If you notice the passage I read, God told him, because you didn't ask, I will. Because he didn't ask for all these things, God says, guess what? I'm going to add this to you. I'm going to give this to you. It's just a fact that you can be rich and don't know how to be a good steward of your money. You can be married but don't know how to be a good husband or a good wife. You can buy houses and cars, but don't know how to manage it. This is why it's important to use wisdom before you confront anything in your life. Another thing, my friend, that I think we need to consider as well is time. Time is very essential when it comes to confronting certain situations in your life. Ask yourself these three things. When should I confront this situation? How should I confront it? And what will be the results from me confronting this situation? Those are three questions you need to ask yourself as it pertains to time. Sometimes when we are confronted or want to confront someone, our first initial reaction is, I need to confront this situation right here, right now. And nobody ever considers that maybe it's not the right time to do that. Maybe you should do that in a week. Maybe you should do it in a year. I believe it's all in God's timing when you should be able to confront a situation. But timing is very important. And I believe that when it comes to timing, we need to also ask the Lord, when is the right time that I should confront this situation? How should I do it? What would be the results of me confronting this situation. Have you even considered that it may be the wrong timing? And yeah, I understand. I know. Well, I got to talk about this now. I got to confront it now. Like I said in the beginning, this teaching today on confrontation can be taken so many ways. Maybe somebody said something on Facebook and you just don't like it and you feel like, well, I need to confront it right now. Did you consider that maybe it's not time to do that? Maybe you should wait. Maybe you should just sweep it under the rug and just wait. And listen to this. Confrontation can be healthy. It can. Now, I'm not saying don't confront anything. I am not saying that at all. I'm not saying, oh, don't confront anything. What I'm saying is that we should consider time. There are three major things you need to know as we go to a close about confrontation. The only way you're going to understand this, people, you need to read Numbers chapter 13 and 14. Oh my, I've digged into it and it's powerful. For the sake of time, I will not be able to read all of these verses, but I did kind of break down what Numbers chapter 13 verse 14 means. And before I give you the three major things you need to know in regards to confrontation, I think you need to know what this story is all about. So basically, this is what happened. God instructs Moses to choose one leader of the 12 tribes to send them to explore a land that is called Canaan. This was a land that God had promised to his people, the Israelites. Moses sends them out, and as he sends them out, Moses starts to give them instructions. And you can read that in Numbers chapter 13, verse 17 through 20. Right there, God gives Moses instructions to the 12 tribes on what they should do. Things such as, what is the land like? What kind of land they live in? The soil. And Moses even says, hey, if you can, bring back some fruit. Now, according to Numbers chapter 13, verse 21 through 25, they went and they explored the land. At the end of the 40 days, that's from exploring the land, they returned back. They reported to Moses what they had witnessed. And this is what they said. They said, now listen, we explored the land. It was rich. It was fertile. They even brought fruit back. The people who lived there were very powerful, like powerful people. And their cities were very large. And even the worst, we even saw giants over there. And this is from the people complaining to Moses about what they had saw. Caleb pretty much silenced the people. Shh. And this is what Caleb said to the people who were complaining against Moses. We should attack now. We are strong enough to conquer it. In other passages of scripture, he says, we are more than able to conquer this. You find that in Numbers 13, verse 30. And God told him, we will possess the land. I love Caleb because he had some faith, even in the midst of a intimidating situation. He says, no, we're going to attack them now. We are more able to do this. We're going to get our possession. We're going to get what's rightfully ours. Why? Because this is our land. Well, at this time, the men who went up with them started to give a bad report. Hold up now. This is what they said. We can't attack these people. They're stronger than we are, and we look like grasshoppers to them. May I remind you today that sometimes life can become bigger than us. Our situations in life can become bigger than us. Maybe we look like grasshoppers to that which is trying to confront us. But let me tell you something about a grasshopper. A grasshopper jumps. A grasshopper jumps. jump into your new destiny, jump into your miracle, jump into whatever it is that God has for you. Jump into whatever is rightfully yours. The bad news start to spread amongst the Israelites about the land that they have explored. First you got good news, and then they came with the bad news. And as a result of the bad news, the Bible tells us that the Israelites cried and was in terror all night long. Later on, the men who brought the bad report died. You can read that in Numbers chapter 14, verse 37. And the only ones that survived, based on my research, was Joshua and Caleb. So to make a long story short, Joshua and Caleb and the Israelites eventually did make it to the promised land, but it was after Moses' death. Now you say, well, what does all that got to do with the three major things we need to know in regards to confrontation? Well, here's what you need to know. Number one, who said it? Who said it? Now, if you read Numbers chapter 13, verse 1, it says, and the Lord said. Knowing that God said it gives you the stamp of approval to go forward. Knowing that God said it should somehow give you the confidence to go forward and confront anything that may try to come your way. Number two, is it worth addressing? I talked a little bit about this earlier, about is it worth confronting? Is it worth addressing? Now, the only way you can address something, you need to what? Thoroughly examine what you are confronting. Because if you don't know what you are coming against, somebody's going to get happy when I say this. If you don't know what you are coming against, you are most likely to be defeated. That's why Moses told them in Numbers chapter 13 verse 2, I told you this earlier, where God gave them instructions on what to do, how to do it, when to do it. He sent them over there pretty much as spies to spy out the land, to see what it's like. That way they'll know what they are confronting. So here's the thing. You need to thoroughly examine what you're confronting. Yes, confrontation can look intimidating, but sometimes our victory comes when we are confronted with bad situations. Oh, I just don't know how to handle it. I don't know what to do. Is this worth addressing? Sometimes some things are worth addressing, some things are not. But don't go in blindly. What if they just went over there and with those giants? What if they just went over there and got wiped out? No, they thoroughly examined. That's what the word explorer means. They went over there and they examined what they were coming against. So yes, in this case, it was worth addressing. Why? Because, go back to point number one, God said it. If God said it, go do it. Go for it. Go confront it. Number three, my last point is sometimes we always have to consider the source. Consider the source. Numbers 13 verse 31 talks about bad news, bad report. Sometimes when we set out to do what God has called us to do, there will be challenges. There will even be people that will tell you you can't do it. Did you notice what they said? The land is fertile. You know, they gave a good report. And then the people that went up with them said, oh, there ain't no way we can attack them. We look like grasshoppers. See, they started to become negative. They were afraid to challenge or to confront the situation based on what they saw. And I want to encourage you today that no matter how intimidating the situation looks, no matter how bad it looks, no matter how you see yourself, see, they saw themselves as grasshoppers, but they don't understand that they were powerful. In God's eyesight, they were not grasshoppers. They were powerful. So listen to this. Sometimes what we hear makes us very afraid to confront that which is in front of us. We are afraid. We're fearful. You heard the story. After they got the bad news, they were terrified all night long. Can you imagine that? Terrified. Wanting to do God's will. Wanting to go forward. Wanting to confront. But afraid to do it because they were terrified. Now listen to this. We should take courage and conquer and be whatever and do whatever that God has chosen or called us to do. It's time to possess what's rightfully ours, and don't allow, and I want you to listen to me very clearly, don't allow a bad report to ruin what God has for you.